My name is Rachel Andrews, and this is the hardest thing I've ever had to say out loud, let alone to a camera, but I know it's time. I've wrestled with it for months, honestly, whether or not I should tell the world about what happened to me. I mean, how do you explain something so impossible, so personal, so otherworldly, in a way that actually makes sense to people who haven't been through it? I've gone back and forth in my head. What if people think I'm crazy, or worse, what if they just brush it off like another weird internet story? But deep down, I know this isn't just my story. It's a message, one I wasn't meant to keep to myself. So here I am, doing my best to get it out, to tell you everything, because maybe, just maybe, it could change someone's life the way it changed mine. I guess I should start from the beginning. October 12, 2022, the day everything I thought I knew about life and death, about God and the universe, got turned completely upside down. I work as a paramedic. I've been on the job for 9 years, and if you've ever worked in emergency services, you'll understand when I say it becomes your whole world. The adrenaline, the chaos, the heartbreaking calls, the small victories when you save someone's life, they all become part of who you are. You get used to the sounds of sirens screaming through the city at 3 a.m., the smell of blood on your uniform, the weight of families' tears when you can't save someone. You think you're tough, invincible, even. That's how I felt. I was good at my job, quick on my feet, the one who stayed calm when others panicked. I thought I had a handle on life, but what I didn't realize was that the constant exposure to death had started to chip away at something inside me. I had built up walls, telling myself I could handle anything. But looking back now, I see that I wasn't really living. I was moving through the motions, numb most of the time, just trying to make it through each shift, pay the bills, and be there for my family when I wasn't too exhausted to care. I had a husband, James, who worked nights as a truck driver, and a son, Lucas, who was in the 2nd grade. I loved them, don't get me wrong, but there were days when I felt like I was running on fumes, like I was just existing, not really being. That morning started like so many others, a blur of fatigue and routine. I had just finished a double shift, 24 hours straight, and my brain was fried. I remember James had left for a run earlier than usual, and Lucas was still asleep when I got home. I was too wired to sleep, even though I was beyond exhausted, so I decided to take a walk to clear my head. The sun hadn't even come up yet, and the neighborhood was so still it felt like I was the only person alive. I walked down Briarwood Lane, the same street I've lived on for years, past the same old mailboxes and oak trees and front porches with sagging chairs. The air was chilly, sharp against my skin, and I remember thinking how the cold sort of matched the way I felt inside, numb, detached. My mind drifted to work, the calls from the night before, the teenage overdose we couldn't save, the older man with the stroke, the little girl who broke her arm in a car crash. They were all blurring together in my head. That's when I reached the intersection at Briarwood and Elm, and for a moment, everything seemed so normal. I was standing there, waiting for the light to change, when I heard the screech of tires. I remember turning my head, and then, nothing. Or rather, I didn't feel the impact the way I thought I would. 1 second I was there, standing on the curb, and the next, it was like I was somewhere else entirely. They told me later that a delivery truck had run the red light, going way too fast. It hit me directly, threw me over the hood like a rag doll. My body slammed into the asphalt, and my head cracked against the curb. By the time paramedics arrived, I was clinically dead. No pulse. No breath. No brain activity. They worked on me for 12 minutes, pumping my chest, shocking me, doing everything they could to bring me back. But I wasn't there. My body was, sure, just a crumpled, broken thing lying in the road, but I was, somewhere else. And what I saw, what I felt during those 12 minutes is something I'll never forget. The first thing I noticed was the light. I know, everyone says that, but it's not what you think. It wasn't a blinding, fluorescent light, like the kind in a hospital room, and it wasn't like staring into the sun either. It was alive. That's the only word I can think of. It was warm and soft but powerful, like it had weight to it, like it knew me. It felt like the light itself was aware, conscious, and it wrapped around me, through me, like it was washing away every fear, every regret, every pain I'd ever carried. And there were colors so vibrant and rich that they seemed to pulse, almost like they were breathing. The air itself seemed to hum, like music, but it wasn't coming from anywhere. It was everywhere, a sound that filled me up, like I was standing inside a song. I remember looking down at myself, but I didn't have a body, not in the way I'd known it. I was me, but I wasn't. It was like I was the light, and the light was me. And for the first time in my life, I felt completely, totally at peace. Every weight, every worry, every failure just disappeared. It was like the air itself was made of love, and it filled every corner of me, down to the parts one didn't even know were empty. And then I saw someone walking toward me. At first, I couldn't make out his face. He was backlit by the light, and it felt like time itself slowed down as he approached. But as he got closer, I recognized him immediately. It was my grandfather, Robert, the man who had helped raise me, who had died of a heart attack when I was just 13. He looked perfect. Younger than I'd ever seen him, strong and healthy, his eyes sparkling with life. He smiled at me, oh God, that smile, and it felt like every hug I'd ever missed, every moment I'd ever wished he could be there for, was suddenly given back to me all at once. He reached out his hand, and when I took it, I felt this wave of warmth and love that was so overwhelming, I started sobbing. But these weren't tears of grief or pain, they were tears of relief. Like my soul had been holding its breath for years and was finally allowed to breathe again. My grandfather looked into my eyes, and without moving his lips, I heard him say, clear as day, Rachel, you don't have to be afraid. You're safe. And there's someone here who wants to see you. I couldn't speak. I wanted to ask a million questions. Why was I here? How was this even possible? Why now? But the words wouldn't form. It was like they weren't needed. My grandfather just smiled, and the understanding between us went deeper than words could ever reach. I could feel his love, pure, strong, unshaken by time or loss, and in that moment, I knew every moment I'd ever missed him, every ache of grief I'd carried silently for years, was seen. It was as if time itself folded in on itself, and all the hurt I'd bottled up from the day of his funeral, the tears I didn't cry when I tried to be strong, the regrets I had over not visiting his grave enough, they didn't matter anymore. His presence was enough. The love I felt in that place was bigger than anything I could describe. It was like being submerged in a sea of love so deep, so wide, so intense that I thought I might dissolve into it completely. And I would have been okay with that. But then, the light shifted. It became brighter, more focused, like a beam pointing towards someone else. And that's when I saw him. At first, I thought maybe it was an angel. The light was so intense around him that it almost hurt to look. But it wasn't an angel. No, this was someone, so much greater. As he stepped forward, I felt it before I even understood it with my mind, Jesus. The realization hit me like a wave, and it wasn't because someone told me, or I had pieced it together, it was like my soul knew him the second I saw him. Every fiber of my being recognized him, and I fell to my knees without even thinking. It wasn't fear, there was no fear in that place, but it was this overwhelming sense of awe, like standing in front of the ocean and feeling the weight of its power, the depth of its beauty. His presence wasn't just light and warmth, it was truth, love, justice, and mercy all at once. His eyes, oh God, his eyes. They held galaxies in them, like they could see every moment of my life, every thought I'd ever had, and yet there was no condemnation in them. Just love. Pure, unfiltered love. And when he looked at me, it felt like he was looking right through me, past the mask I wore for the world, past the failures and mistakes, past even the parts of me I was ashamed of, and seeing me. The real me. I wanted to say something, to tell him how sorry I was for all the times I'd doubted, for the ways I'd fallen short, for the moments I'd ignored his voice, but he spoke first. His voice wasn't loud, but it echoed through me like thunder wrapped in silk. He said, "Rachel, you are loved. I have never left you." And the weight of those words broke me. I sobbed, not because I was afraid, but because the relief was so intense it was almost painful. I had spent so much of my life trying to hold it together, at work, as a mom, as a wife, and here, in front of him, I didn't have to be strong. I could let it all out. The guilt, the shame, the exhaustion. It all spilled over, and instead of turning away, he came closer. He reached out and placed his hand on my shoulder, and in that instant, I felt a flood of warmth pour into me. It wasn't like anything I'd ever felt on earth. It was like love had a temperature, a weight, a physical presence, and it was pouring into every corner of me that had been broken, empty, or numb. I felt whole in a way I didn't even know I could feel. Then his expression changed, and the atmosphere around us shifted. The warmth and love didn't leave, but there was a new weight to his presence, an urgency, a gravity that made the air feel heavier. He looked into my eyes, and without moving his lips, he spoke directly into my heart. "Rachel, there are things you need to see. My people need to know. The time is short." And as he spoke, the light around us seemed to stretch and change, like the air itself was opening into a new reality. It wasn't like watching a movie, it was like I was in the events he was showing me, standing in the middle of them, feeling the emotions, the weight, the reality of what was to come. The first thing I saw was a world drowning in distraction. People everywhere were glued to their devices, phones, tablets, screens. Families sitting together but not talking, kids scrolling while their parents stared at news updates, couples ignoring each other at dinner tables, churches half empty because people were too busy to come. I saw pastors trying to preach truth, but their words were drowned out by the noise, endless videos, social media arguments, entertainment, ads. It was like humanity was in a trance, lulled into a state of mindless scrolling, endless consuming, and no one realized how much of their life was slipping away. Even believers were caught in it. People who loved Jesus, who wanted to follow him, were being pulled under by the current of distraction. Jesus' voice was soft but firm, cutting through the noise. This is how the enemy works, by keeping them busy, by keeping their eyes on the temporary so they forget the eternal. Tell them to wake up, Rachel. Tell them to come back to me. And my heart broke, because I saw how easily I could have been one of them, how often I'd chosen scrolling through my phone over praying, how many times I'd escaped into TV instead of reading his word. I saw myself reflected in that vision, and the weight of it was crushing. But Jesus wasn't done. The light shifted again, and the next thing I saw was darker, more ominous. It was a vision of deception spreading like wildfire across the world. I saw strange lights in the sky, and people gathering in crowds, mesmerized by signs and wonders. Beings of incredible beauty, tall, radiant, glowing, were speaking to the masses, telling them about peace, unity, enlightenment. They spoke in soothing tones, promising a better world, a brighter future, but underneath their words, I felt a sickening twist, a deception so subtle, so seductive, that even strong believers were being drawn in. People were so desperate for hope, for answers, that they were willing to believe these lies. I saw churches splitting, Christians arguing, families torn apart because they couldn't agree on what was true anymore. And Jesus' voice came again, this time urgent, "Rachel, tell them not to be deceived. These are not of me. They mix truth with lies, and they will lead many astray. My word is the only foundation that will not be shaken. They must stay rooted in me." I wept as I saw the pain, the confusion, the division tearing through families, churches, and entire nations. I wanted to turn away, to stop seeing it, but Jesus kept my gaze steady. He was showing me the reality of what was coming, not to scare me, but to prepare me, to prepare us. And I knew, deep in my soul, that I couldn't stay silent. I had to tell what I had seen. The weight of what I was seeing in that moment was crushing, yet I couldn't look away. It was like the visions were being imprinted into my very soul, like I was being branded with truth, with warnings, with a message that I could never unsee or unfeel. Jesus didn't speak for a moment, but I could feel his presence beside me, steady, unshaken, and yet filled with the deepest sorrow I had ever sensed. It wasn't a sorrow of hopelessness, it was a sorrow born out of love. A heartbreak for the people he loved so fiercely who were wandering into traps without even realizing it. My heart ached because I felt it too. I felt his heartbreak. I felt his tears mixing with mine, even though I couldn't see them. It was like the whole world was groaning under the weight of deception, of distraction, of division, and it all seemed so hopeless. I remember wanting to scream, to shake people awake, to shout, "Can't you see what's happening? Don't you understand what's at stake?" But I couldn't. I could only watch. And then, just when I thought I couldn't take any more, the vision shifted again. This time, it wasn't darkness. It was light. So much light that it was almost blinding at first, but in a way that made my heart lift, like something deep inside me had been waiting for it. The light spread like ripples across the earth, small at first, like sparks in the darkness, but then it grew. I saw people, ordinary people, falling to their knees in their homes, in their cars, in church pews, in parks. I saw fathers crying out for their children, mothers lifting their hands in surrender, teenagers weeping as they repented, communities gathering in homes and fields, worshiping together. I saw miracles happening, people being healed, addictions breaking off, relationships being restored. And I saw it wasn't just happening in one place, but everywhere, like a tidal wave of God's Spirit sweeping across nations. The love, the joy, the life in those moments, it was so tangible I could almost taste it. Jesus whispered, "This is the great awakening. My spirit will move, and hearts will turn back to me. But Rachel, there will be a cost." And as he said it, the vision shifted again. I saw the same people, those who had been filled with joy and fire, now being mocked, shamed, attacked. I saw pastors being arrested for preaching truth, churches being vandalized, believers being called hateful, dangerous, even criminal. I saw families divided, not just by ideology, but by faith itself. Some wept as their loved ones rejected them, as they faced isolation, loss of jobs, even imprisonment. But what struck me most wasn't the persecution, it was their joy. Their faces shone with a kind of peace I couldn't comprehend. It was like they knew something the world didn't. They were unshaken, even as the storms raged around them. Jesus' voice was strong in my spirit, "The cost will be great, but the reward is greater. Tell them to stand firm. Tell them to endure, for I am with them, and the reward is eternal." I was sobbing by this point, full-on, gut-wrenching sobs. It felt like my heart was being torn open, like I was being stretched to contain more than it could hold. I thought maybe that was it, maybe the visions were over. But Jesus wasn't done. The light shifted one final time, and I saw the sky. It was split open, like a curtain being torn back, and there was this sound, a sound so powerful, so all-encompassing, that it seemed like the earth itself was trembling beneath it. And then I saw him. Jesus. Not the gentle, humble Jesus I had seen before, but Jesus in his full, unfiltered glory. His robes were dazzling white, his face shone brighter than the sun, and his eyes were like fire. Legions of angels filled the skies behind him, a sea of radiant beings, and their voices joined in a chorus that shook me to my core. Every knee bowed. Some bowed in worship, faces lifted in awe and joy, tears streaming down their cheeks. Others bowed in terror, faces buried in the ground, their bodies trembling. I could feel the weight of it in the air, like the gravity of the entire universe had shifted to this single moment. Every heart, every soul knew, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that Jesus was Lord. And then he spoke. His voice wasn't loud, but it filled every part of me, every corner of existence. Tell them I am coming soon. Tell them to be ready. And as he spoke those words, I felt myself being pulled back, like the light and the visions were folding in on themselves, collapsing inward. The sound, the music, the colors, the warmth, they all started to dim, and I felt this ache, like a part of me was being torn away. I didn't want to leave. I wanted to stay there forever, in the presence of that love, that peace, that purpose. But his voice was so clear, your work is not finished. Go back. Tell them what you have seen. And just like that, I felt a jolt, like I was being snapped back into my body. It was violent, disorienting, like being slammed into a wall after floating weightless in space. My chest burned, my lungs screamed for air, and I heard voices shouting, paramedics, crying, "We've got a pulse. She's back." I opened my eyes to see faces hovering over me, tears running down one of the EMT's cheeks. They looked at me like I was a miracle, like I wasn't supposed to be here. And maybe I wasn't. I could barely move, barely breathe, but I felt the tears streaming down my face, not from pain, but from the overwhelming gratitude of being alive, of having seen what I had seen. I wanted to tell them everything, to shout it from the rooftops, but the words wouldn't come yet. My voice felt like it had been left behind in that other place. All I could do was squeeze the hand of the paramedic nearest me and pray that somehow, they could feel the truth in my touch. I was alive. I was back. And I knew, without a shadow of a doubt, that I had to tell the world what I had seen. The days that followed were like living in a fog. I was lying in a hospital bed, hooked up to monitors, IVs dripping into my veins, the smell of antiseptic in the air, the beep of machines filling the silence. Doctors and nurses came in and out, checking my vitals, asking me questions I could barely comprehend. They kept using words like miracle, unexplainable, 1 in a million. They told me I had a fractured skull, a concussion, broken ribs, but no internal bleeding, no catastrophic injuries that should have come from the kind of impact I endured. They couldn't understand how my heart had stopped for 12 minutes and yet here I was, alive, awake, speaking. But I knew. I knew it wasn't a coincidence or luck or the skill of the paramedics alone. I had been sent back, for a reason. Every moment in that hospital bed, my mind was consumed with what I had seen, what I had felt, what I had been shown. The images were burned into my soul. Every time I closed my eyes, I could see Jesus' face, hear his voice, feel the weight of the message he had given me. And the urgency, it never left me. It pressed on my chest like a physical force, like a hand on my shoulder reminding me, tell them. Tell them. Tell them. But how? How do you explain something like that to the world? To your husband, your son, your friends, your co-workers? When James came to see me, his face pale and drawn, his hands trembling as he gripped mine, I tried to tell him. The words tumbled out in fragments: light, love, Jesus, coming back, distractions, deception, but he just stared at me, his brow furrowed, worry in his eyes. "Ratch, maybe it was the trauma," he said softly, as if trying not to upset me. "The brain does weird things under stress. Maybe it was just a dream." I wanted to scream. I wanted to grab him and shake him and say no. This was real. I know it was real. But I didn't. I just let the tears flow, because deep down, I understood his doubt. If it hadn't happened to me, I don't know if I would have believed it either. The world doesn't teach us to believe in the unseen. We're taught to trust in what we can touch, measure, prove. And yet, what I had seen was more real than anything in this world. The colors, the music, the love, it was more vivid than the hospital room, more solid than the bed I was lying in. And the message? It was crystal clear. The distractions are pulling us away from what matters. The deception is coming, and it's subtle. It will look beautiful, sound appealing, but it will be full of lies. The awakening is near, and with it, persecution. But the reward is worth it. Jesus is coming back, soon. And we need to be ready. I spent weeks trying to find the words, trying to make sense of what I had seen, trying to figure out how to tell people without sounding crazy. I went back to church, but it felt different, like I could see beyond the surface now. Worship songs weren't just nice melodies, they were cries for help, declarations of truth in a world that was being swallowed by noise. I sat in the pews and looked at the faces around me, some bored, some distracted by their phones, some half-heartedly mouthing the lyrics, and I wanted to stand up and shout, "Wake up! Don't you see what's happening?" But I didn't. I was still afraid. Afraid of rejection, of judgment, of people looking at me like I was delusional. So I kept it inside, letting it burn in my chest, letting the urgency gnaw at me until I couldn't sleep, couldn't focus, couldn't breathe without feeling the weight of it. It wasn't until one night, when I was sitting in the dark in my living room, staring at the ceiling while James and Lucas slept down the hall, that I felt it, this overwhelming sense that I couldn't wait any longer. I could feel Jesus' presence in the room, like he was sitting right there beside me, and his voice filled my spirit, quiet but firm. "Rachel, you were given this message for a reason. It's not yours to keep. Speak. Even if they mock you. Even if they turn away. Speak." I started to cry, big, messy tears, the kind that leave you gasping. And I whispered, "Okay, Jesus. I'll do it. I'll tell them. Even if my voice shakes, even if they call me crazy, even if I lose friends. I'll tell them. That's why I'm here now, sharing this with you. Not because I have it all figured out, believe me, I don't. I'm still a mom trying to juggle a million things, still a wife trying to keep my marriage strong, still a woman figuring out how to live with this weight of knowing. But I can't stay silent. I won't stay silent. Because this isn't just about me. It's about you. It's about all of us. It's about what's coming, and how we're running out of time to get ready. So here's what I need you to hear, whoever you are, wherever you're watching this from, Jesus is real. Heaven is real. The love I felt in his presence is unlike anything you can imagine, and he loves you. He sees you. He knows you. Every tear you've cried, every burden you've carried, every moment you felt like you weren't enough, he knows it all. And he's not waiting for you to get your act together or become perfect before you come to him. He's waiting with open arms, right now, as you are. But there's more. We can't just sit back and live distracted, numb, scrolling our lives away while the world spins faster and faster toward a storm. We have to wake up. We have to get into His Word, to know the truth so we won't be deceived. We have to prepare our hearts, strengthen our faith, and stand firm, because the shaking is coming. And when it does, we need to be anchored in Him, not in the temporary things of this world. The time is short. The distractions will pull you under. The deception will seduce even the strong. But the awakening is coming, the outpouring, the miracles, the revival, and we need to be ready. And after that, Jesus is coming back. Soon. I'm not sharing this to scare you. I'm sharing it because I love you. Because I have to. If you've never prayed, start now. If you've been running from God, come back. If you're lukewarm, it's time to get on fire for Him. Don't wait. Don't wait for the signs to become so obvious that it's too late. Don't wait for a tragedy to shake you awake. Wake up now. Choose Jesus now. Open your Bible, pray like your life depends on it, because it does. Get into a community of believers who will hold you accountable, who will lift you up when the storms come. And if you don't know where to start, just say His name, Jesus, I need you. Jesus, save me. Jesus, help me believe. That's where it begins. That's where everything changes. If you've made it this far, if you've listened to my story, thank you. I know it's long, and I know it might sound unbelievable, but I hope you feel the weight of it in your heart. I hope you can sense the urgency. I'm not a theologian. I'm not a preacher. I'm just a woman who died, who saw the other side, and who knows, without a doubt, that Jesus is real, His love is real, and His return is coming sooner than we think. Don't waste another second. Get ready. Get right with Him. And if this story has stirred something in you, share it. Tell someone. Don't let the enemy steal this moment. And if you want to hear more stories like this, if you want to join me in waking up the world, subscribe, stay connected, and let's walk this journey together. We don't have much time, but we have today. Let's make it count. Life after that moment, after dying, after seeing Jesus, after being shown things I never wanted to see, wasn't simple. It wasn't like I woke up from the hospital bed and everything clicked into place, neat and tidy. No, it was messy. It was hard. It still is. I remember lying there, hooked up to machines, the sounds of monitors beeping in the background, and just staring at the ceiling, trying to hold on to the memory of that place. The light, the love, the presence of Jesus. It felt like it was slipping away, like a dream that starts to fade the moment you open your eyes. I would close my eyes and try to go back, try to feel it again, but it wasn't the same. I was back in this world, a world of cold hospital rooms and sterile walls, of pain in my ribs and bruises covering my body, of doctors poking and prodding, of James hovering awkwardly at my bedside, his eyes filled with relief but also fear, like he wasn't sure who I was anymore. And maybe he wasn't. Maybe I wasn't the same woman who left the house that morning for a walk. I didn't feel the same. The world felt different. Like I could see it all so much clearer now. I noticed things I used to brush past, the way people stared at their phones in waiting rooms, scrolling mindlessly while their loved ones lay fighting for their lives, the way nurses on shift whispered gossip instead of comforting the families pacing the halls, the way people avoided eye contact with the homeless man on the corner because it was easier not to see him. I started feeling this heaviness, like a burden on my chest, watching people go through the motions, oblivious to the storm that was coming. I wanted to stand up in the middle of the cafeteria and shout, "Wake up! Can't you see what's happening? Don't you know what's coming? but the words stayed locked in my throat. I didn't know how to say it, how to explain it without sounding unhinged. So I sat there, quiet, tears slipping down my cheeks, feeling like a stranger in my own skin. It wasn't just the world that felt different, it was me. I would sit in the car after picking up Lucas from school and just look at him, my heart swelling with this love that felt almost too big for my chest. Every freckle on his nose, every curl in his hair, every smudge of dirt on his cheek, it all felt sacred. Precious. And I would think about all the moments I'd missed before, those nights when I'd come home too exhausted to ask about his day, those mornings when I'd rushed him out the door, half listening to his stories. And now, I couldn't stop listening. I wanted to soak in every word, every giggle, every sigh. But with that love came a deep ache, because I knew the world he was growing up in wasn't safe, not in the way I'd once thought. I had seen what was coming. I had seen the deception, the division, the persecution. And I knew I couldn't protect him from it. All I could do was prepare him, teach him to listen for Jesus' voice, to hold on to the truth even when the world around him shouted lies. I remember one night, sitting on the edge of his bed after reading him a story, and I just broke down sobbing, gripping his little hand in mine. He looked at me with those wide, innocent eyes and said, "Mommy, why are you crying?" And I couldn't find the words. How do you tell your 8-year-old that the world is about to change, that the storms are coming, that everything you thought was safe is going to be shaken? So I just said, "Because I love you so much, baby. I love you so much it hurts." That love, it's what keeps me going, even when the burden feels too heavy. Because it's not just about my son. It's about all of us. It's about your son, your daughter, your family, your community. It's about the people you see every day at the grocery store, the neighbor you wave to but never really talk to, the coworker who seems so put together but is silently crumbling inside. They're all souls, souls Jesus loves, souls he's calling, souls who are being swept up in the distraction and the deception and don't even realize it. And the thought of them standing before him one day, unprepared, unaware, it breaks my heart. It wrecks me. That's why I can't keep quiet. That's why I'm sitting here, pouring out my heart into this camera, even though part of me is terrified. Terrified of what people will think, of the comments that will come, of the friends who might turn away, of the family who might think I've lost my mind. But the fear doesn't matter. Not anymore. Because I've seen what's at stake. I've felt it. And once you've felt that, once you've seen the love and the glory and the power of Jesus, once you've stood in his presence and heard his voice telling you to speak, you can't go back. You can't stay silent. Not when you know that souls are on the line. Not when you know that eternity is hanging in the balance. So here I am. Speaking. Telling you the truth, as best as I know how. And I know there are some of you watching right now who are feeling something stirring in your chest, a warmth, a flutter, a tear slipping down your cheek that you didn't expect. That's not me. That's not my words. That's Jesus. That's his spirit reaching out to you, knocking on the door of your heart, saying, "Wake up, beloved. Come back to me. There's no more time to waste." And if you're feeling that, don't ignore it. Don't scroll away. Don't brush it off. Pause. Breathe. Listen. Because the God of the universe is speaking to you right now, in this very moment, through my broken, messy, imperfect story. He's reminding you that you are loved, that you are seen, that you have a purpose, that you are part of a bigger story than you've ever imagined. And that story, it's moving fast. The pages are turning, the clock is ticking, and soon, Jesus is coming back. And the only question that will matter on that day is this: were you ready? In the months that followed, life didn't magically become easy. If anything, it got harder. Coming back from something like that, dying, meeting Jesus, being shown the future, doesn't mean the world stopped spinning. The bills still needed to be paid, the laundry still piled up, the house still needed cleaning, and my son still had spelling tests to study for and soccer games to attend. Life kept going, but it felt like I had been dropped back into it with a different set of eyes. I couldn't unsee what I had seen. Every conversation I overheard in the grocery store, every moment I spent scrolling through my phone instead of talking to James or Lucas, every mindless TV show playing in the background, it all felt like I was watching a slow-motion car crash. People were sleepwalking through their lives, just like I had been, and the clock was ticking louder than ever. I would sit in church on Sunday, listening to the worship team, and my heart would ache as I looked around and saw people barely paying attention. I'd see folks checking their phones during the sermon, whispering to each other, zoning out, and I wanted to stand up and shout, "Don't you get it? Don't you see what's coming?" But I stayed quiet, because I didn't know how to say it without sounding like a crazy woman. And maybe I am crazy. Crazy enough to believe that Jesus really did meet me. Crazy enough to believe that the visions he showed me are real, that the storm is coming, that the world is being lulled into a dangerous sleep by the glow of their screens and the promises of false peace. I started having dreams. Vivid, terrifying dreams. I'd see people walking through dark cities, their faces lit by their phones, not seeing the fires burning around them, not noticing the cracks forming under their feet. I'd see families sitting together at dinner tables, completely silent, each person lost in their own world, while outside their windows, storms were raging, and creatures moved through the shadows, beings that looked beautiful at first, radiant and glowing, but when you looked closer, their eyes were hollow, their mouths were twisted into sneers. And in every dream, I heard his voice, "Rachel, tell them. Wake them up." I'd wake up gasping for air, drenched in sweat, and I'd sit there in the dark, hugging my knees to my chest, whispering, "Okay, Lord. I'll tell them. I'll tell them. Just give me the words." But the words didn't always come easily. I felt like I was carrying a boulder on my back, trying to find a way to explain the weight, the urgency, the love that had been poured into me during those 12 minutes on the other side. How do you explain the feeling of being seen by the creator of the universe? How do you describe the way his eyes held galaxies and yet looked at you like you were the only one in the room? How do you tell people that the end is closer than they think, that the enemy is working overtime to distract and deceive, that the time for lukewarm faith is over? It feels impossible. But I can't not tell you. I have to tell you. There are days when I feel like I'm drowning in it, the weight of the message, the fear of rejection, the memories of that place that feels so close and yet so far. I'll be folding laundry, and suddenly I'm back there, in the light, in his presence, hearing his voice, "Rachel, tell them I'm coming soon." Or I'll be driving to pick up Lucas from school, and I'll see a mother walking her toddler across the street, and my heart will squeeze so tight it feels like it might burst, because I wonder, does she know? Does she know how much he loves her? Does she know the storms that are coming? And I want to roll down my window and shout it to her, to everyone, "He's real. He loves you. Get ready." But I don't. I just drive home, the weight in my chest growing heavier every day, until I find myself back here, sitting in front of this camera, hoping and praying that these words aren't just bouncing off the walls, that someone, youth, will hear them and let them sink in. Because this isn't just my story. This is our story. This is your story. You are part of this. You're part of this bigger, eternal picture, whether you see it or not. And if you're still watching, still listening, I believe that's because God is knocking on the door of your heart right now, whispering, "Wake up. Come home. The time is short. I know it's scary. I know it's overwhelming. When I think about the future, about the deception, the persecution, the division that's coming, I feel it too. The fear. The uncertainty. The ache for the people I love who don't know him yet. The longing for things to stay easy, safe, comfortable. But here's the thing I can't shake, the truth I can't ignore. Jesus is bigger than the fear. His love is stronger than the darkness. His promises are unshakable, even when the world shakes around us. He didn't show me these things to terrify me, he showed them to prepare me, to prepare us. He showed me the darkness so I could point you to the light. He showed me the shaking so I could tell you where to stand firm. And he showed me his face, oh, that face, so I could remind you that he is good. That he is coming back. And when he does, every tear will be wiped away, every knee will bow, and every tongue will confess that Jesus Christ is Lord. But the question is, will you be ready? Will you know him when you see him? Or will you be one of the ones who bows in terror, realizing too late that you missed your chance? I don't want that for you. I don't want that for anyone. So please, if you hear anything in my voice, if there's a tug in your heart, a whisper in your spirit, a tear you didn't expect streaming down your cheek, don't ignore it. Don't brush it off. That's Jesus, reaching out to you, inviting you in. So stop what you're doing. Put down the distractions. Turn off the noise. And talk to him. Right now. Don't wait. Just say, Jesus, I don't know everything, but I know I need you. I don't want to be caught sleeping when you come. Wake me up. Save me. Show me the truth. Help me follow you. That's where it starts. That's where everything changes. And once you've done that, pick up a Bible. Open it. Read it like your life depends on it, because it does. Get plugged into a community of believers who will challenge you, support you, help you grow. And if you don't have one, keep watching here, because I'm going to keep sharing. I'm going to keep telling you the truth, even when it's hard, even when it hurts, because I love you, and I don't want you to miss what's coming. We are living in the last days, and the time to play church is over. The time to sit on the fence is gone. It's time to get serious. It's time to get ready. It's time to wake up. So if this message has touched you, if it stirred something in your heart, please, don't let it stop here. Share this video. Tell someone. Start a conversation. Pray with your family tonight. Get back in your Bible. And most importantly, talk to Jesus. He's waiting for you. He's always been waiting for you. And I promise you this, no matter what you've done, no matter how far you've wandered, no matter how many times you've failed, his arms are still open. His love has not changed. His grace is still available. And his return is closer than you think. Don't wait until it's too late. Don't wait for the storm to hit. Wake up now. Get ready now. Choose him now. Thank you for listening. Thank you for giving me the time to share what's been burning in my heart. If you want to hear more stories, if you want to learn how to get ready, how to grow in your faith, how to stand firm when the shaking comes, subscribe to this channel. Let's walk this road together. Let's wake up the world together. And let's get ready for the return of the King.